Hola, soy Kurt y bienvenidos a MedTalk por Medical Tourism y Doctores Especialistas. En esta ocasión, platicaré con pacientes que contactaron a doctores mediante nuestras páginas web. Conoceremos cómo fue su experiencia, así como su proceso de recuperación y cómo mejoró su calidad de vida. Comenzamos. Hi, thank you for joining us, Clare. Can you please tell us your name and where are you located at?
Yes, my name is Clare Velez, and I'm located in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
All the way from Canada.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your procedure, your experience? How do you find the doctor?
Yeah, I've actually had 4 procedures by Dr. Baca. My very first one that I had was my right ankle. So I had an injury playing soccer in Canada, and I tore all the ligaments and one of the tendons. And the doctors here told me weren't going to operate and that I just needed to not be active anymore because I was too young to do the surgery. I did have something done. It showed all the damage. I had a second opinion, and they said that they could operate, but it was going to take up to 3 years. And so decided to look around at medical tourism, and I was looking, the top orthopedic surgeons in the world, and Dr. Baca's name came up, and then I kind of just went from there.
3 years? Why? What was that about?
I'm not too sure. In Canada, a lot of people think we have really great healthcare. I think if you have a flu or a cold, we have good healthcare because it's free and you can get support if you need it. But oftentimes for a lot of other things, the wait is really long. If you can even get it done at all, like a lot of time they hesitate. I feel like they don't do procedures to necessarily improve your quality of life. They just do procedures if they have to be done. Like if it's something that's going to cause like life-threatening issues or you need it immediately, they'll do it, but otherwise they don't really like to do the procedures. Wow.
Yeah, I'm shocked by what you're saying. I've heard this about other people, like that the healthcare, facilities and the technology, everything is great, but the waiting time, if it's not like an actual emergency that you're like about to die, they're gonna send you and push you all the way to 3 years. Okay. And then you decided to go online. What was your experience? What made you choose Dr. Baca?
I just Googled my friend, and I just started doing some research and came up on a medical tourism site. I can't even remember the name of it because it was so long ago, and now I have such a good relationship with Dr. Baca that I just message him when I need surgery and he helps me out. So the website popped up his name as being one of the top orthopedic surgeons in the world. And at the time I was dating a guy who was actually from Colombia. And I thought, Colombia and supposed to be the best surgeon in the world. So I started looking into it more and more, and I started communicating with their medical tourism department. I did have a little bit of difficulties with the communication to start, but after I connected with them, my boyfriend at the time actually connected with his family in Colombia to ask them, they work in the medical field, and wanted to ask them who the best orthopedic surgeon was. And again, his name came up, and so they kind of cross-referenced, and I thought, it's coming up 2 times. I think it's time to give it a shot, and why not go somewhere warm and somewhere new where I can have a great recovery after too.
Yeah, I guess that's something that we generally advertise when we do social media stuff. Like, for example, if it's like the super cold weather, I can't imagine if you have like a broken bone or whatever you need orthopedics wise, and it's like, and your recovery with the cold and stuff like that and the humidity, I'm guessing I would prefer in a warmer climate, obviously with air conditioning and stuff, but still.
Yeah, I think the climate really actually helped my recovery, to be honest. It's very cold and dry in Canada, and I think healing is a lot slower, in my opinion, and it's just more uncomfortable, and it's hard to get around, when you're on crutches, which I was after the surgery. Even before, I was on crutches for 1.5 years before surgery while I waited to find this information out, and it's slippery and you're slipping on the ice, and it's just not a fun place to be.
Yeah, you could add more pain to that injury. Yeah, it's hard. I always think that, for example, it's a good thing, even if it's for a small thing. In your case, it wasn't, but the fact that you get to travel and relax for a little bit, I don't know, I think that helps a little bit. Your attitude, your mood, always, for most people, I think cool, warmer weather, makes their mood better. I don't know why. Can you tell us a little bit, how was your experience to the trip? Did your boyfriend at the time went with you? How do you manage to book a play?
It was actually well, looking back, it was kind of scary, but at the time it didn't feel scary for some reason. He didn't actually come with me because he wasn't a permanent resident yet in Canada, so he couldn't leave. So I just packed up and headed down on my own without a word of Spanish in my back pocket. I didn't speak any Spanish, and he had connected me with his brother who drives for tourists, but I had never met him, never spoke to him, but he was going to pick me up at the airport. I hopped on the plane, and right away I had delays in flights. I then slept in and missed the next flight, so it took me a few flights to get there, but I eventually made it, and his brother picked me up at the airport and took me to my Airbnb, which was a really nice, I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice apartment with a 23rd floor pool kind of overlooking the whole city, which was beautiful. And that really helped with recovery for sure.
Of course. And the prices, I'm guessing that it was like very... Yeah, if you had that view all the way in Alberta, I'm pretty sure it would have paid like the same price as the surgery.
Yeah, it was really nice. I got there, and actually at the time they had their big soccer tournament on, and Atletico Nacional won. And so it was that same day that I arrived, I got to go and celebrate in the streets and see a whole new side of the culture, and that's really cool because soccer is a big passion of mine, so that was really neat. And I met a few of his other family members at the time. He kind of connected me with his family, but again, they all speak Spanish and I don't. So his mom did stay with me. She came with me before the surgery, and she stayed with me for a week after and took care of me and cooked for me. And, you know, we used Google Translate, and I did a lot of learning Spanish on my 2 weeks while I was there. But yeah, no, it was really good. I went to see Dr. Baca the second day that I was in town, and just kind of a general checkup. He had a look at my ankle and was absolutely shocked that they weren't going to surgery on me in Canada because there was just nothing left to hold my ankle together. So it was very reassuring to chat with him. And in Canada, they never actually physically tested my ankle. They looked at all the imaging, which showed that it was damaged, but no one ever put their hands on my ankle or my foot to see what was going on. And he did. And so I felt like it was like he actually cared, and he actually was looking into what was going on. And I kept kind of being treated in Canada. In fact, one of the surgeons said to me, "You're making this a bigger deal than it is." And they kind of kept telling me over and over, almost making me feel like I was making it up and I shouldn't be in pain and I should just get over it. But he reassured me that, no, you have significant damage. You have, some big things going on. And he was very confident that he could help fix it, which was great for me. And then, yeah, he did the pre-op stuff. So I had the blood work done. I felt like a queen. They sent me off. I had my blood work done. In Canada, you're just in a big system, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting everywhere you go. Even if you have appointments, you wait forever. But they just walked me straight up. They did my blood work. They gave me a little voucher for a snack and a coffee after, which we don't even get that if we donate blood in Canada. So it was just really nice. Like, everyone was really friendly and smiles on their faces, and there was no waiting around. I felt welcomed. I felt like I was in good hands. Felt like everyone was very professional. That gave me a lot of peace going into it, which was good. Yeah, and then the day of the surgery was like a whole other ball game. I think that's when it actually hit me, was the day of the surgery.
How many days before the surgery did you arrive there? 2, 3?
I want to say it's really hard for me to remember because this was so long ago, but I want to say that time was about 4 or 5 days before, and it just had to do with like holidays and days of the week and stuff like that.
Perfect. I always think that what you did, it's either if you planned it or not, to go like a little bit like 3 or 4 days before your surgery, just so you can feel the place, you can feel comfortable in the Airbnb or the hotel, or get to know the city. I don't know why I think that gives you a little peace of mind, and you start to set in like in the vacation set of mind, and then you're ready for the surgery. And when you're calm, I think things tend to go better. Yeah,
I agree. And I probably would have gone a little bit even before when I did, to be honest, because there were little hiccups along the way, like things that weren't at the Airbnb. I had to go grocery shopping and pick up things, and like that kind of, it's like I was doing so many things leading up to the surgery, I didn't have time to just relax.
Yeah.
And enjoy things. And so, yeah, you're right. I think having some time before would be really helpful, and just to kind of get familiar with everything.
Yeah, or maybe in your case, that helped you distract you from the surgery and you were like, hey, I need milk.
Yeah, and that,
Oh my God, tomorrow I have my surgery and I don't have milk.
yeah, and I think that's probably actually really accurate, because like I said, I look back now and I think, wow, that should have been a scary experience, but it wasn't, because it was so like time structured, right? Like my flights were delayed, so I was always playing catch up, and then I just ended up, laying in the bed before the surgery thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. Like, wow, that just all of a sudden hit me at that time, because it was the first time I really sat down and thought about it. And I might have been more anxious had I had more time to think about it. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And you were like in the bed, ready to get into surgery. And then the nurse said, we're going to put it to relax. And you were, wait, what?
Well, that was the worst part. I was laying in that bed, and there was maybe like 7 other people in the room with me, thankfully. But she was asking me questions in Spanish. And that's when it hit me. I thought, what am I doing? I'm having this big surgery. This lady is asking me all these questions in Spanish. And the lady next to me says, oh, she's asking if you have allergies. And I was like, yes, I'm allergic to morphine. Like, that's a pretty big thing. And if I wouldn't have had her sitting next to me, I wouldn't have been able to answer the question. But everyone, honestly, I don't know if it's typical, but Dr. Baca was the anesthesiologist. Dr. Baca, all the nurses were so incredible. He came before I went into the operating room. He was with me as they put me to sleep. He was with me when I woke up. Like, you see your surgeon 2 times in Canada. You see them when you're first injured and they tell you you're going to have surgery. And then you see them at your follow-up appointment. You don't see them the day of your surgery. You don't see them when you wake up from your surgery. You don't have contact with your surgeon. They just do a job and leave. But he really reassured me. And I remember even the anesthesiologist sitting at the head of the bed and just like stroking my hair, saying, you're safe, you're in good hands. And I thought, this is something we just don't have in Canada. Like that genuine care and concern. And I totally felt like I was in good hands, even though at times I didn't know what was happening because of the language barrier. Like, you could feel their energy, you could feel their presence, and I felt like I was in great hands. To the point where, to this day, 2 years ago, I had my last operation with Dr. Baca, and I said to him, I don't have anybody here for surgery with me. He's like, that's okay, I'll be your person. So it's just gotten to that point, I think, where it's just very easy for me to trust them because things have gone so well.
Dr. Baca is a certified surgeon, so you made a good choice with him because you did your research and you picked a good doctor and you had a good outcome. After your surgery, did you manage to stay there for a little bit? You went back to Canada right away? Did the doctor follow up with you? How was your experience?
Oh, yeah. I stayed for, I think, pretty much every surgery I've had now. The initial plan was to stay for 6 weeks. And I always extended my trip. I think 2 times it was in the winter, so it was very easy for me to say, oh, it's cold in Canada, I'm going to stay an extra 2 weeks. So I usually stayed anywhere from like 8 to 9 weeks for each of my procedures. The follow-up, honestly, I was absolutely amazed at the follow-up. The daily check-ins, like, how are you doing? How's your pain? Do you need anything? How are you feeling? Again, we don't get that here. Like, we could have an infection or we could have a rash, which I ended up actually having an allergic reaction to something. And in Canada, I'd have to go back to the emergency, right? I'd have to go see someone new and they'd have to try and help me out. And I'd probably wait 7.5 hours in emergency waiting to see someone, where, with Dr. Baca, I just sent him a message on WhatsApp and he answered, within the hour. He let me know what to do, what medication I needed or what lotions I needed to help with the rash and itching. And, if things didn't get better, then he would just immediately book an appointment for me to go in and see him in the clinic. There was no waiting. To this day, it's strange to me. Even every once in a while, he'll check in now, just say, how are you doing? How's your knee? How's your ankle? He took the time to get to know me as an individual too, so he knows my hobbies and my passions. And he'll check in and he'll just say, are you having any pain? How are you doing? How's soccer going? It's just all around. He's an incredible surgeon.
Cool. I'm very happy to hear that. And for the people who are listening to us or seeing us, this was totally unpaid and this is not an advertising for a doctor. It's just reach out to Claire so she could tell us her experience. I'm happy to hear what you're saying because that's part of what our job is, to go and look for doctors who met certain criteria and and who are passionate about their job and who make patients like yourself feel welcome, feel good. And that's why they're medical tourism doctors, because they know the whole situation. They know that patients are traveling and they're scared, and sometimes they're alone and they have special needs, language barriers, everything. And they're very attentive to all of that. And that's why we, in our line of job, that's what we do. We search for doctors who met that criteria, because not all doctors are like that. That's what we do. We search for those specific quality doctors who haven't lost their humanity.
Yeah, Dr. Baca definitely goes above and beyond. I mean, from checking in before I arrived, even just helping to find a place to stay if I needed or anything like that. And now, again, I've had 4 procedures done. I remember the last 2 surgeries I had, both on my knee. I actually messaged him while I was in the emergency room in Canada, and I said, I think I did something bad. Can you help me? He said, yeah, just send me the images and we'll go from there. The first time I had the knee done, he said, just message me when you get to Colombia. So I booked a trip. I showed up in Colombia 2 weeks after I injured it, I believe it was. And I messaged him and he saw me the next day. Just unreal.
And right now, you're fine. You're playing soccer again. You're running. What's your medical status right now?
I'm doing really well. The Canadian winters don't help with joints. So I definitely, in the cold, I do get some joint pain, but for the most part, I'm doing really well. I haven't gone back to soccer because I think since being in Colombia and Mexico quite a bit, I've kind of lost my Canadian soccer passion. I enjoy playing in Colombia. I enjoy playing in Mexico. The quality of soccer in Canada isn't the greatest in a women's league. And so I just didn't think that the risk was really worth it anymore. So I picked up some new hobbies. I was kickboxing for a year after my surgery, and now I'm just into boxing. And then I also mountain bike, which is great. And then I have just recently gotten back on the snowboard too, which is really exciting.
Cool. I'm very happy to hear your story, and thank you so much for sharing with us your story. Hopefully that will help people understand a little bit what medical tourism is about. It's just about trying to look for ways that work for some people to keep healthy.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd say is I have a friend who had the same surgeries at the same time as me, actually, and it's not just the wait time in Canada, even the quality of care in Colombia that I got and the outcome was so much more superior than what they had, or even right down to our scars. She has a huge scar. It looks like somebody tore her apart and just quickly stitched her back together, where Dr. Baca took his time and everything's so precise. And I think that's why my healing time was so fast and why my recovery was so great. I probably have a lot less scar tissue because he took his time and really prides himself on his incision and the way that he stitches them up. And so you can't even barely tell that I've had surgery, whereas hers, it feels like Frankenstein. You just got cuts all over her knee. She can't bend down. She can't bend her knee past 90 degrees. Just such a huge difference. And I think it has a lot to do with the actual procedure and the care and the concern that he put into it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think that you're set on mind, that you were relaxed, and I hear you. And it's like the whole medical system over there kind of gets you angry. Yeah. And I can imagine that if I was paying that much taxes and I wouldn't get any benefit from it, I would be like, I understand you. I totally understand you. And that helps too a lot. I'm guessing a good set of mind that at least you're saying, okay, I'm paying for this, but I'm getting what I'm paying for. I understand.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Claire. I hope this video helps a lot of people. We're studying in our podcast. We're doing a whole series where we're reaching out to patients so they can share their story. Me, myself, I have a story also that I'm going to share with you guys later on. So I totally understand, and my experience is the same as you, just different part of the body and a different location, but basically the same. So I understand.
Cool.
So thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you so much.
Si viajas por turismo médico y necesitas hospedaje, transporte o guía de actividades, visita nuestra página web en la sección de servicios, donde encontrarás la mejor opción que tenemos para ti. Visita el link de la descripción.
Muy buenas tardes. Este testimonio de Clare es muy importante debido a que en Canadá, así como en otros países del mundo, la salud no es tan buena o no cubre tan ágilmente las lesiones deportivas o lesiones ortopédicas producto de un trauma o una deformidad. Clare me buscó hace muchos años para su primera lesión de rodilla debido a que durante un partido de fútbol, siendo ella jugadora de fútbol, soccer en su país, presentó una lesión de ligamento cruzado anterior. Al venir aquí a Colombia, le hicimos un programa de estudio para la lesión de ligamento cruzado anterior anterior con resonancia magnética, le evaluamos clínicamente su lesión y decidimos intervenirla quirúrgicamente. Le hicimos una reconstrucción del ligamento cruzado anterior con autoinjerto de isquiotibiales, debido a que para los pacientes extranjeros no podemos colocar aloinjertos, que son injertos de cadáver. La recuperación funcional de ella la hicimos con un grupo maravilloso de fisioterapeutas que me acompañan y logramos rehabilitarla completamente. Luego ella tuvo otra lesión de la otra rodilla y también la intervenimos con mucha satisfacción y le fue muy bien. Y luego Claire también tuvo lesiones a nivel del ligamento peroneo estragalino anterior en su tobillo y hicimos reparaciones artroscópicas de estos ligamentos, logrando rehabilitarla y logrando llevarla a una máxima potencia funcional en su deporte. Así que Claire, como otras pacientes que confían en mí y confían en mi equipo, ha sido beneficiada con este tratamiento.
Antes de escoger a tu doctor, investiga sus años de experiencia, así como el número de procedimientos que ha realizado y si es miembro de las instituciones que regulan y certifican que cuenta con los estudios y conocimientos necesarios para realizar los procedimientos y cirugías que ofrece. En la descripción encontrarás un enlace con más información sobre el tema hablado, así como los especialistas dentro de la República Mexicana que cumplen con los requerimientos para hacerlo. La información mencionada aquí representa un punto de vista y no debe ser tomada como una valoración médica. Y recuerda, invertir en salud para no gastar en enfermedad es una excelente filosofía. Gracias por escuchar y no olvides suscribirte a nuestros canales.